So when I was in London a bunch of months ago, I made it a point that one of my first stops had to be the Twinings Tea store on the Strand because, well, Twinings was the tea that got me into tea many, many moons ago. But shockingly and kind of unshockingly, I saw flavors of tea there that we don't sell here stateside. Now, what was also very interesting to me is stateside we only sell maybe 4 varieties of the Twinings loose leaf tea, and that's usually the Earl Grey, the English breakfast, the Irish breakfast, and the Lady Grey tea. But at the tea shop in London, loose leaf tea was what was going on, and I was all for it because I love to steep my own tea. I think it brings a fresher cup of tea into the day, and well, tea is good at any point of the day, in my opinion. So seeing the different varieties that they had, I had to pick some up and bring them home. And I haven't gotten around to trying them, but that changes now. Because even on a hot summer day, it's always a good time for a good cup of tea. And I picked out the Rosy Fig White Tea. I wanted to try this one out because it just seemed very interesting. To me, white teas are great for the summer because they just seem to be refreshing, kind of like a green tea would be. Now, description-wise, it says this is a mellow, sweet white tea with a hint of rose, almond, and fig. And I was reading the back a little bit, and I wanted to kind of go into what this tea was all about, because it says when Thomas Twining opened his shop on London's The Strand in 1706, little did he know that we would still be supplying some of the world's finest tea to this date. Just like Thomas, our passion still burns brightest for loose leaf, the ultimate for the enthusiast to savor the subtle flavors of the finest teas and infusion. Ingredient-wise, we have white tea, rose petals, fig, rose, and almond flavoring. So we really only have 5 different ingredients here if you want to count the rose, fig, and almond flavoring separately, which I did. But aside from that, it's just white tea, rose petals, no other BS in there, and I'm kind of all for it. Now, it does say this is an orthodox large leaf white tea, which is rolled, pan-fried, and blended with rose, fig, and almond flavors. So, I've never had Twinings loose leaf tea before, aside from being at the shop in London. So let's see how this tea holds up. And I put it specifically in my see-through David's tea mug, just to kind of see what kind of complexion it was going to give. And it gives this nice, kind of golden yellowy look to it. So let's see. Offhand, I'm not really getting much of a flavor here. I get a little bit of a fig scent, nothing really rosy, but definitely a white tea scent is coming out here with no problem. So let's do the taste test. That's interesting. So the fig flavor is very prominent there. Now with white tea, I always say white tea is good to blend with fruits and other kind of herbal flavors because white tea isn't as prominent in flavor as like a green tea or a black tea. So it allows a little bit more of a mixture, I think, ability to other ingredients. Offhand though, even though it's only a flavoring, you really get that fig flavor coming through. And I like it. You get a little hint of nuttiness, right, coming from that almond flavoring in here. I'm surprised they didn't throw like actual almonds in here, because I've seen almond in tea, like slivered almonds, but they just use flavoring from here. Now with the rose, you must be wondering, where is that rose flavoring? But I don't really taste it all that much. If it's there, honestly, it's subtle. Now, this does say on the back here, to make mention, to only steep for only a minute or two to allow like the floral flavors to come through, but also to gauge your own taste and basically use that as a starting point, and then if you need to steep more for a little bit of flavoring, do it. I steeped for about 4 to 5 minutes thinking I would infuse a lot more of the flavor. But offhand, really what I'm getting is that rosiness, not that rosiness, that white tea-ness, look at me contradicting myself, that fig flavor, very prominent in here. You can taste it. It kind of tastes like a fig Newton, and maybe I'm only thinking that because I've really only had figs in fig Newtons. Maybe I need to expand my palate a little bit, but figs really aren't super prominent here, this side of the state lines, right? Or at least in New Jersey, I don't really see fig with anything. I've started to see figs in like deli spreads and stuff, but nothing aside from your traditional fig Newton. Now, I don't know if these flavors, I mean, these, I would guess they would have to be popular overseas to come into this white tea, but it was very interesting going over there, learning the history of the Twinings Tea Shop, knowing that they've been in business for over 300 years, and the location has stayed the same. I really wish I brought more teas home from them, but I felt like the 4 that I brought, which I'm probably going to be reviewing here shortly on the channel, would be sufficeable for the time being, because then when I go back over there at some other point, I can just buy more teas. Seeing that their prominence over there is in loose leaf tea versus stateside, where most of the Twinings teas that you see are tea bags, was very different. It was refreshing to me because, as I mentioned earlier in the video, I love my loose leaf teas. That's why I tend to always buy from David's Tea over here, because all of their teas, for the most part, are in a loose leaf form, and if not, you can find sachets now, but early on, it wasn't very prominent. So, the Twinings tea is delicious for what it's worth. It's mellow in flavor. It's not overpowering. And I'm definitely all for the sheer fact that the fig complements the white tea, and the white tea complements the fig very well. Even though this is the middle of a hot summer day, this tea is still very refreshing. I believe if you wanted to steep this to make an iced tea, it would probably be fantastic. And let me know if you've done that before with this tea, because I really am thinking about doing that going forward. Making this as a nice, refreshing iced tea for a hot summer day seems like it would hit the spot, guys. So that's my little quick review of the Twinings loose leaf tea, rosy fig flavored white tea. It's very mellow tasting white tea with those hints of the fig, the almond, somewhat of the rose petals, not as much as I mentioned that I can taste, but maybe that's just my palate not being accustomed to what rose petals taste like. But overall, it's a decent tasting tea. If you've had this one, leave your thoughts down in the comment section below. As always, thank you for watching this video. I want to hear from you. What other teas do you recommend trying from Twinings? Because I realize you can ship their stuff from their UK shop overseas, so I might do that. What other teas do you recommend trying in general? Are you not a fan of tea? Are you more of a fan of coffee? If so, what blends of coffee would you recommend trying, or just recommend me trying from your part of the world, just to see if I like it, see what these New Jersey taste buds have to offer. And I guess until next time, guys, I will catch you later. See ya. Bye.